and welcome back. So today I'm going to do my July wrap-up, and I ended up reading 12 books, which is incredible for me because I've read like 3 books a month the last few months, and that's just sad because I usually used to read like 15, 16 every single month, but this month I read 12, which is probably because I've been on vacation for like 3 of those 4 weeks, and also because I did a lot of sort of challenging things to make myself more inclined to pick up the books. So yeah, let's get started. Actually, the very last book I ended up finishing was Black Sun by Rebecca Brownhorse. This is an adult fantasy, and this is basically about politics, magic, about gods being prophesied that they are going to walk the earth again, and maybe some people are involved in the resurrection of a particular god. That's all I'm gonna say. It's best to go in blind. This was a really quick read and I read it through the freaking night. But yeah, I really like the characters, I like the magic system, and yeah, it was some interesting shit happened, and I'm really looking forward to reading book 2. So I ended up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars. And we have Wolf by Wolf by Grudden. This is the first book in a duology. This is a historical fiction, and it's basically what would have happened if Hitler won the Second World War and basically took over the freaking universe. In this one we meet Jael, and she was actually in one of the concentration camps where she was experimented on, and it ended with her being able to skin shift. So basically she can change her appearance as long as the person she's changing into is female. And she changes into Adele Wolf, which is one of the people that has actually won the sort of motorcycle race that goes around a lot of countries through the Hitler Empire, if you will, and she has to impersonate her to be able to get through the final victory banquet where she will meet Hitler and she's going to try to kill him. So this was a really quick read. Like, honestly, I flew through this one so quickly. It's definitely new, like very different kind of historical Second World War type book, and I really enjoyed that aspect actually. And it was kick-ass female characters, there was mystery, there was intrigues, a lot of drama, and yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars, and I really want to read the second book soon. And then we have a middle grade, and this is The Girl Who Speaks Bear by Sophie Anderson. This is the second Sophie Anderson book I've read actually, because I ended up reading The House with Chicken Legs a few months ago, and I really enjoyed that one too. This one contains like really beautiful illustrations sometimes, if I can find one. And this was a very quick read about a girl named Yanka, and she is questioning a little bit her parentage because she knows she was adopted, and she has heard some stories about where she comes from, why was she put into the care of her adoptive mother and stuff like that, and she's trying to figure out where did she come from, why did she mysteriously get ill, and you know, shit around that. And there's a lot of magic in this one, and it's very magical writing as well, and I really like the illustrations and the characters and talking animals, which I'm all for always. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one, and I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars, which is like common theme around these books. And then we have All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. This is a historical fiction which has been on my TBR forever. Like, when I say 5 years, it's probably quite accurate. But this one we meet 2 different kids. We meet Marie-Laure, and she is French, and basically we get to follow her during the Second World War and what she went through. And she is a blind girl, and the only way for her to be able to basically get around town is that she memorizes the sort of miniature house map, if you will, that her father made for her, and be able to feel her way around that, and therefore after that learn this CD. And it was really engrossing. It was very horrible events in this one as well. A lot about the war, of course, but also like finding the strength in yourself and being like able to take care of yourself and stuff like that. And yeah, it was really interesting. And then we also met Werner, who was a German boy who basically lives in an orphanage, but he gets hired by like the wealthier people to fix their electronics because he's really good with that, and he ends up applying for this sort of school where you're supposed to get taught more about that stuff. And yeah, they end up meeting in a very intriguing kind of way, and you know, shit goes awry. And I ended up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars. We have The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. And this one has been on my TBR forever as well, since it came out basically. But this one we meet Addie, and she made a deal with the devil basically, with a like dark god, and in exchange for her not, you know, being tied down by anybody, she ends up being basically immortal. She doesn't age, she cannot die of age, and also no one can remember ever meeting her or ever talking to her. So basically all the interactions she's ever had with people, they forget her and they don't know who she is. And then one day she ends up meeting this guy who actually remembers her, which of course changes her life. And yeah, this was a really quick read. I really liked Addie and Henry. We get both of their point of views and like the story behind them, and we get to know like the flashbacks from like the beginning when Addie made the deal and stuff like that until where she's now in 2014. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and as always I want to read more of V.E. Schwab. And I ended up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars. And then we have You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. And this one we meet Liz, and she has the grades, she has the will to go to this really good college. Problem is she did not get the scholarship she applied for, so she can't actually afford to go to school. So she decides to join up to become prom queen, and you know, go through all of this shit that comes with it, because the winner of prom queen and king get a scholarship for college. So that's the only reason she goes through it. And while going through all these different events to be able to participate and be one of the people you can vote for, she meets Mac, who is also the new girl in school who also wants to be prom queen. So there's a lot of drama and a little bit of bullying, and yeah, it was a really quick read. I really enjoyed it. It was fun, all of the weird shit that the participants had to go through just to be part of the experience of becoming a prom queen, you know, before all the students voted for them, and it was really dramatic. But I really liked it, so I give it 4 out of 5 stars. And then we have Under the Whispering Door by T.J. Clune. This book has also been on my TBR for a long time. Do you guys see the common theme of these books? Like a lot of books that's been on my TBR. So I'm really happy about reading, you know, shelf warmers. But yeah, I really love The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Clune, which is why I bought this one in the first place. This one, I didn't like it as much as that book, but I definitely liked it a lot. I like his sort of lyrical writing. I like the characters and the big ass character developments. T.J. Clune is really good at writing character developments. Person going from being an utter asshole, very self-absorbed and just focused on his work all the time, into going to become something entirely different. And this one we meet Wallace, and he's very absorbed with his job. He doesn't really treat people well, and he ends up dying from a heart attack. He's not very old, basically like 40s. And he ends up going to Hugo, who owns this cafe, and he is the ferryman, basically supposed to help the souls move on to, you know, what comes after life. And they end up meeting, and they become friends, and shit goes down. And now we have The Rune of Kings by Jen Lyons, which has once again been on my TBR for a while. I'm just gonna stop saying it because it's gonna be nagging. But this is the first book in a series called A Chorus of Dragons. And basically we get to meet Cahirin, and we get to know about his life, what happened before he became a slave. And we get to know who his biological parents are and why he's not with them. And there's, you know, people out after him, and he's trying to figure out why. And, you know, magic, dragons, big ass dragons. And yeah, I really enjoyed this one. It was a hunker for sure, but it was still quite quick paced and quite a fast read for being an adult fantasy. I really enjoyed it. I really want to continue on with the series with book 2. I think there's like 4, possibly 5 books out or something like that. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. And now we have an adult romance, and that is the Bromance book club by Alicia K. Adams. In this one we meet Gavin. His wife has just told him she wants a divorce. He is this sort of big baseball guy. I think it's baseball they play. Yeah, he's this baseball guy. He's very like famous, well known, especially for one game where he did a home run or something. I don't really know baseball terms. His wife wants a divorce. This is the last thing he wants. He just wants to keep his family together with the twins and his wife. And his friends from the baseball team ends up inviting him to the Bromance book club, where they read romance novels to figure out what went wrong with their marriages and how they're supposed to fix them. And this was such a quick-paced book. I flew through this one in one day, and I really enjoyed it. There was a lot of character development, a lot of drama, and yeah, I don't want to say much more, but really enjoyed it. And I ended up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars. And then we have Sunkissed by Casey West. This is a contemporary novel. We meet Avery, and she and her family is going to this sort of summer camp in the middle of nowhere, where there's no internet. They just have to survive the 2 months they're there. But she ends up meeting this guy called Brooks, who actually works for the camp. He's one of the sort of artists that play during, you know, dinner and stuff like that, and they end up starting to like each other. Shit happens, maybe they're in a competition, you know, stuff like that. And this was a really quick read. I love the sort of camp aspect of it. Well, that was an avalanche of books. I like the friendship from a lot of different people actually. It was a quick read. It was really cute. I love the music aspect of it as well, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. And I actually ended up reading this book in one day, and I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. Now we have the final book, which was the first book I read this month. It was somewhat of a disappointment, but still, I mean, it was a good book, but still not living up to the expectations I had on it. And that is Bloody Rose by Nicholas Eames. This is the second book in the Kings of the Wild trilogy. And this one we follow Golden Gabe's daughter, Bloody Rose. She is a mercenary, and technically you don't read from her point of view. You read from Tam, who sort of admires Bloody Rose and her mercenaries, and she ends up being, you know, a part of the gang by being their bard, where she's supposed to like write songs and stuff about them. And I really would have loved reading from Rose's perspective, because she's actually interesting and kick-ass, but instead we got Tam, who is bland, and she just doesn't have much of a personality. She does have some moments where she's a little bit cooler, but I just feel like out of all the people in this gang, there are like, what, 5 of them or something, and they're so much cooler than she is, and they have a lot of more shit in their baggage. They've gone through a lot before they even joined the gang, and I just wish we got to read from one of those people, because Tam is not fun. I ended up giving this book 3.5 out of 5 stars because there are still kick-ass characters. I like that Bloody Rose was so flawed. She definitely had her moments, and there's LGBTQ plus representation, and there's some really interesting events and fights and stuff like that. So yeah, those were all of the 12 books I read in July. I'm really happy about that actually. I do still have 2 weeks left of vacation, so hopefully I will be able to get some more books read before going back to work in the middle of August. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and please let me know down below if you read any of these books. And yeah, I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!